Most furthest people think about design is graphic design. If you're not good at drawing, but if you're a creative, there's a lot of fields you can go into within design.
So how it came exactly into NID?
Lots of big ivory sheets or big newsprint sheets, and we were just asked to draw straight lines. I didn't get that kind of cultural exposure in so long from any community.
So when it comes to curriculum, so what all topics are included?
Our director Shekhar Mukherjee he's the man behind all this.
The kind of the evaluation, like jury.
So I've met people who've done rebranding for Harley Davidson, Nestle, Maggie ka website. Technology is a very fundamental skill in the 21st century. We value our culture and our community as NIDians.
So how's life at NID?
If you get into NID, no more written exams, okay? it's the best thing.
Hi everyone, so welcome to yet another episode of Design Voyage. So today in this episode we have Nandini Syju along with us to share her experience of her design journey. So how's life at NID?
Big bomb. That was a big bomb. Oh my god. Life at NID is awesome. We're actually quite in a shock as a community right now because we just got our semester plan and it has a 2-week break in it for shifting.
Oh yeah. So into the new campus.
Into the new campus. So we have our fingers crossed. We are very attached to where we live right now, the Transit campus.
Okay.
It's this beautiful, huge area with like flowers falling all the time, and it's very dreamy. But at the same time, having the luxury of having our own college and our own campus is it's like a different thing. So we're like keeping our fingers crossed and hoping, everything, whatever happens for the best. Because our juniors haven't been called yet officially. So everyone is very eager. So that is the big news at NID right now. But in general, life is awesome. It's completely different from school life, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but I just love how, with that kind of exposure and freedom, I thought that I will just have fun and, mess up my studies and all that. But really, it kind of gave me a kind of platform to grow up and become an adult. Yeah.
So, please mention that what exposures you get.
By exposure, I mean, nobody's going to get you that glass of water. Like when you're at home, I'm like, Amma, vellam. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in college. You're just by yourself. So even if you're sick, it's your responsibility. Nobody's gonna take care of your stuff. And it's not a hostile environment. It's very nice. Like people do look after each other. It's very safe. So that is there. But at the end, you're gonna have to be independent and pick yourself up, because if you're sick and if you have an assignment in the weekend, nobody's going to be like, okay, let me make soup for you. So that kind of made me really independent. I mean, I'm so sorry about the parents who are freaking out about this, but I really love how I got that opportunity to grow as a person. And also what I love about NID is, we have this joke. We have a lot of jokes going on, right? But we have this other joke that you only get into NID if you're like super weird. And it kind of makes sense because the kind of people you meet in college, be it the faculty who are all kind of like pass outs of NID itself, or the students, everyone is so unique and everyone is I don't want to say so cool, but everyone is very artsy, So you get like a different perspective, a different universe out of each individual that you meet. And I didn't get that kind of cultural exposure in so long from any community. And that is something that I really admire in NID, because everyone is so motivated, everyone is so enthusiastic about art and creativity. At the same time, they're like very aware, they're not like those people who are like, okay, I'll just write and paint and that is it. People are very aware of the industry. They know that you gotta hustle and you gotta learn a lot of tricks, a lot of software to survive. So I love the blend of realism, a realistic perspective, and the artsiness. They have that perfect balance as a community, and I really love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is the culture at NID?
Culture is very rich because we each batch will have about 60 students, and there's people from every state. So you'll have people from Kerala, you'll have people from Haryana, you'll have people from Northeast, we'll have people from everywhere. And the best part about that is we come together. It's not like we have these cultural groups and we form these niches, and that's not how things work. We blend in, we come together, and we celebrate everything. So we celebrate everyone's culture. We have Holi, and it's like the proper thing, with the bonfire and everything. Next day we have the whole everything. We have Navratri. Everyone plays Garba, and so in that sense it's great. We have all our festivals lined up. Onam is like this massive thing with an amazing big fund and everything, and I'm like second year ka cultural secretary in the SAC. So I personally have like in-depth knowledge about how things work as a cultural experience, because that is where NID becomes more than a college but something that's very close to everyone's hearts, and it's something that stays with you even years after you leave. Like even 30-40 years after people have graduated, they come back to teach as faculty, and they know the exact way in which things work, the exact culture in which things work. They expect a Garba in Navratri, and not just that, each NID also has their own unique kind of flow to things. Like we have our own set of unique festivals also. Sometimes we host open mics where people come in and they just do anything, we display things and all that. We sing and we have a bonfire. People who play, I play the uke. So yeah, so we come in, we play, we sing, and we include everyone, and that's the best part about NID. It's a very cultural artsy hub thing, and I'm very proud of it, because it's not easy to build that kind of thing in NID Andhra. It's located in this small village called Namburu, which is kind of in the middle of it's a little remote, I could say. So it's very difficult to inculcate that, but that is what we do in every incoming batch. After they come in, we take them in and we teach them, this is how things are done. And I'm not going to reveal a lot about NID culture, because that's something you learn as an insider, and that's something we keep for ourselves. But it's a very strong and very beautiful thing that people carry throughout their lives, and I'm just very lucky to be part of that.
So NID's learning is also a quite unique one. So apart from that particular learning thing, so what are the other kind of activities like?
Okay, so we have our college life, and we have our cultural stuff, and like in hostel, we come together and we do potlucks, we cook for each other. Those kind of things also happen. But beyond learning, learning never stops. It doesn't stop in our classrooms or our Google Meets or our workshops. We do beyond that. We do peer learnings. Our seniors come back sometimes, talk to us, they tell us about the industry. Some people go for hackathons, and that's a very interesting thing, because you don't it is the most random thing. Sometimes you get an email, sometimes it's an Instagram post, but we participate in everything, because that is what gives us the exposure, and it kind of keeps us in check. Like, are we getting too taken away by the NID label, or are we actually good? So that is something that's quite interesting, and we've actually, like, a lot of my batchmates and my seniors and even my juniors have won a lot of interesting awards in India and also internationally, and that is quite frankly like the best thing that's happened, because it kind of puts us on a global map as a community and also as a college, because for us that comes first. Like, we want to be seen and heard as a community of students who are here doing wonderful things and creating wonderful products or solutions. So that is something that's really interesting about.
Okay. So as an NIDian, so what are the international exposure you are going to get?
Okay, so there are student exchange programs that they offer, and that usually happens in the second or third year, where a few students are selected by portfolio basis or choice, however, and then they are sent to exchange in other countries or colleges, or even sometimes firms. They get internships, and then they do like a design project there, which will be like a few months long, and then they'll come back. So that is something that people really look forward to at the international exchange. We have our seniors who've gone to Germany and all of that.
Okay, I think with that also there are students from other countries also, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And the international scene in NID is quite cool. In NID Andhra Pradesh, I'm talking about, because I'm from there. So we have this festival called Chitrakatha. So that is a global design festival.
Okay.
And it is hosted in NIDs. And for the past 2 times in a row, it's a biannual festival. Past 2 times, our director Shekhar Mukherjee he's the man behind all this.
Okay.
So because he's with us, he's kind of hosted it in Andhra Pradesh NID for the past 2 years.
So what exactly is happening at that event?
So we have designers from all around the globe coming in.
Okay.
And design students also, and they take up rooms in our building, and they it's like a design exhibit / it's an experience. So some designs are to be exhibited, some designs are to be experienced, some designs are to be it's like a part of what everyone does. So there was this film roll where everyone took a small part of the film, and they could like sketch in it, and finally they made a roll out of it. So that's like a shared experience as design, and some people came in and they made pasta, so every student got to like be part of that, and we had that pasta together. And we even though it's a very international thing that happened, we kind of stuck to our roots. So we had these local artisans coming in, and they showcased their works. We valued our handicrafts, or like the toys that were made up of goat skin and leather, the puppets, and like all of those things. And it was like a really beautiful cultural exchange again. But then it was quite unique because it was something of a global scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from international also artists came to this particular
Yes,
event.
absolutely. Okay. And this was quite interesting because a lot of people who've put in a lot of effort into this have gotten an edge, because this was something that was added to their portfolio in the end also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the industrial exposure you get at NID, like internships or the other kind of workshops?
Okay, so in our last year we have to do like a graduation project. So that is one main thing, like main strength. We usually have to go for something that's a non-disclosure agreement thing, so that you can present it in your jury, and finally it's your graduation project. So usually you go to a company and they kind of make it your GP, and then you kind of intern under them and work with them for like a few months. So depending on your stream, you will create something, and then that will be the final product. So the whole process will be documented.
Okay.
Your research, your stages, your final iterations, your final model. So that is something that happens in your last year, and it's something that people kind of get anxious about in the third year itself.
Okay.
So that is the main thing. That is like the official industrial exposure.
There will be industrial project and also a personal project, right? You can do it in either way, or
Yeah, you can either make it your own thing, or you usually, people kind of prefer to do it with the companies, so that it's something like you have got the exposure, you work with other designers or other people. So that is something that people look for in a CV, or look for as a skilled person, because as a profession, design is not a solo game. You have to work with other people. So it should show that you have a strong set of interpersonal skills, at least in the professional realm. But beyond that, we have our foreign exchange that I talked about, where certain batches do get like the privilege of going abroad and working with certain groups, or in that sense. But also people do a lot of internships in their spare time. So this is not like really officially done, and this is not mandatory, and like it's not something that the college pushes for, but people do it to like enhance their skill and get better at what they do. Like I did one this winter, that is around December, January. So this it was a short internship, but it was in this place in this firm in Bangalore, but it was a San Francisco based firm called Inference. So over there my job was, I was an interaction design intern. So my job over there was to do research and find out how to make this particular, it was a new gen, first one of a kind machine setup they had. And I was on the software side of things, where I had to be a UX or an interaction design intern, and like work with a team of 3 designers to create the UX of the whole thing. So that was my job, and it was a quite an interesting experience, because during that time my interaction design course was also going on in college. So I could coordinate my work with the people in the office, and I could coordinate my work with my faculty also, because I made them sign the NDA. So it was like a really good balance, and it was quite interesting because my design lead, or like the person now I was working for, like my boss, was also a pass out from NID. So that really talks about how well connected our alumni are. So our alumni network is like our strongest asset as a community, and that's why we value our culture and our community as NIDians. So that is where we value our community as something that is a very valuable asset, because I was in Bangalore for 2 months, and then I met so many of our seniors that I've passed out from my college, and also PALDI, NID Ahmedabad, and I've learnt about their experiences, the journey they've gone through after college as a seasoned professional. So I've met people who've done rebranding for Harley Davidson, Nestle, Maggie ka website, everything. So people don't stick to one thing in design. They have like this whole open fluid thing going on, and that's why that's like the pure nature of an NIDian. Like even when you're in college, you don't just sit in ID classes, you go wander, you sit in other classes, you learn new skills, and that is the same thing that happens in the industry also. So people do like, coming back to the main point, people do internships the moment they are in the confidence level that okay, I can do. And there are a lot of internships out there where you can just apply, and they'll kind of have like a 2 or 3 week training course, and if they like you, they'll pick you and they'll make you their intern for a while. So there's a lot of options available. You just need to know how to approach and when to approach.
For a proper internship.
Yes.
So what are the works you are currently doing as an industrial designer? Any freelance works?
Okay, so I do a few 3D CAD freelance works, or I do a few UX works, because right now I'm very interested in where Figma is headed. There's an international conference also that's going to happen in a few days. I'm very excited about that. But so far I do a lot of UX as a freelance person, and I do help a lot of my peers out. So I get like random calls, sometimes even in the middle of the night. They're like freaking out, and they're like, hey, can you tell me what this is, how do you do this flow? And then we help each other out, and that's this really cool culture that we've developed as a community. So that is one thing. But I have done a few design projects. Those are like full-fledged projects that you do as a design student, and that gets added to your final CV, or however you want to put it. Some people create a website, some people have just a LinkedIn, some people have Behance page that is very popular among designers now. So for that, I've been working on a few things. So I've been keeping my portfolio a little versatile, because that is how I am right now. So I do have a few products that I've created. Like I've made this electric kettle for arthritis patients. So the main USP is that it has a base and a body, but then it's like a ball and socket thing. So you just have to push it, and because there's a weight at the base, it will come back.
Okay.
So what I'm solving here is, as an arthritis patient, I've interviewed a lot of them, and that's where empathy comes in as a designer. After interviewing them and doing like extensive thorough research for weeks, you'll find a lot of pain points, right? So the main problem they've had in their life is like the most mundane things, like picking up a water jug full of water and pouring a glass for themselves. So I went into that, I kind of niched it down, and then I kind of designed a kettle where you don't have to have the struggle of picking and pouring. You just have to push and it will pour for itself, and then you release, and then it comes back to natural position. So I mean, that is just the initial concept, but there's a lot of other issues you have to solve as a designer revolving around it. How do you clean the kettle? How do you carry the kettle? How do you fill the kettle with water? All of this as an arthritis patient. So again, there's a lot of form factor involved. There is a little bit of physics involved, how the spout was designed, how the base always comes back. So like, it's like the whole inspiration behind that was that, you have that doll you play as a child, you punch it and it always comes back up because there's a weight at the base. It's like a self-writing mechanism. So you have to go a little bit into the physics of these things. I had to speak with people from different disciplines, and then once I was good with the concept, I had to go into material and what kind of material is feasible, because it's an electric kettle. So I knew that the base had to have nichrome wire. So like, it was a completely cross-disciplinary experience creating that one project, one kettle. So again, at the end, I had to do CAD to create the model, and then I went into, like, right now I'm at the phase where I'm prototyping it. So I made one soft model, and then after this I'll go into hard model. So this is like a very rough idea of how a flow is to create a product, but it all starts with that extensive research, and if you mess that up, then the whole project will like go sideways. So that is one thing that I did in like pure and applied product design.
Okay.
But currently I'm more into UX. So I created this app with a few of my peers called Jeevan Rekha. So this is, again, it's a solution, or everything we create as designers, it's a solution. So the problem that we took here is, like, as a bystander, if you're like an elderly lady that's kind of supporting her husband as a bystander, something like that, then as a bystander for a patient in a hospital, there's a lot of things you have to do. You have to do a lot of running around, going to pharmacy, talking to doctor, talking to nurse, help desk, updates. If all of these communications could be sent to the person via an app, that was our main concept, and we created Jeevan Rekha. And what we did is, again, it was research, and then there was a lot of interviews and a lot of surveys that we did, and then we created solutions for it. And UX is different, so we have wireframes, we have key path flow, a lot of jargon in it, but like, I'm not going into the details. But finally, in the end of the day, we created an app, and it's cool. And you can always, if you're interested more, you can go to my Medium page, Nandini Syju, and try out the app if you're interested. But yeah, that was.
So it's Jeevan Rekha.
Jeevan Rekha, yeah.
Okay, so it's available in Play Store also. Like that?
No, it's not live, but like, there is designers don't code, right? So like, that is another myth. People think that to be a UX person, to create apps, you need to learn how to code, but that is like, there's a design side of things and the coding side of things. Designers don't code, so we create prototypes, and those are available through like links, or you can get a QR from my Medium. That's Nandini Syju, but yeah, so there's a lot of ways, but like, that's another big myth that has to be busted, that to be a UX person, you have to learn how to code. You don't.
So like, as a designing field, so I think most of the students also, or the aspirants, they also think about it's like visually or aesthetic. It's only concentrate on aesthetics. But was it actually like that, or we have to go deeper into the technology side, the tech side? So is that like that?
Very good question. So there are certain things that are called principles of design. Those are like that's like the foundation and the pillar. It's like the spine of design, like the basic core. And then there is skill. So technology is a skill.
Okay.
But technology is a very fundamental skill in the 21st century. So to survive and thrive as a designer, you do need to learn a lot of software, and that is the harsh truth. Like, I mean, there are a lot of very seasoned people who don't use technology, who still draw their design sketches in paper. And that is okay, but if you want to thrive as a designer, you should always be open to learning technology, because I know how intimidating it can be. But like, as someone in this field, if you want to thrive, you'll have to be that kind of person who learns new apps, new techniques, new softwares every other month.
Yeah, because every day it's changing. Right?
Every day it's changing, yes. But that is again, it is reduced to what you call a skill. And then you talked about aesthetics, right? So aesthetics, I would like to change your mindset about it for a little bit. When you talk about aesthetics, I'm not talking about drawing. Drawing is again a skill. Hyper realism, drawing those hyper realistic portraits of those eyeballs and stuff, skill. But aesthetics as a quality of a designer is part of that foundation pillar or that spine I'm talking about. Like, to be very exact, okay, when you see a wall full of photos that are framed, you should be the first one in that room to say that that picture is slightly tilted.
Okay.
So that is the eye for design. So that is like how good you're with grids and all. Or you have to be the first one as an industrial designer to point out that this material is ABS or something like that. So that is again something that you pick up as a designer. That is different. Those are the kind of aesthetics I'm talking about. You're kind of how seasoned you are as a designer, and this is something that you're not born with. You train yourself. This is something you polish over time.
Okay.
So that is the thing. And even as like a visual designer, you should be able to know that if I do a render of a glass, this is where this off shadow will come, and there is a little bit of science behind it. But basically, if it's off, it should be your second nature to say that there's something wrong with it.
Okay.
So that is what I'm talking about. Skill is always something you pick up, and then this is something that you always polish over time.
So what are your future plans? Like getting into a job or higher studies or any other plans?
Oh my god, I'm getting chills. But yeah, my future plans as of now, learn a lot. Because I'll always have that mindset, because the industry is ever changing in this field. That I learned as a hard truth. So no matter what position I'll be in, I'll always be learning, and I'll always be learning different things and new things, not just hyper specializing, but also one day I would like to specialize. But currently my plan is to like do great internships with like great firms. Yeah, but it's going to change any day, because
any names of that firms?
Well, not any names as of now. Because I don't want to come off as too ambitious. But I have a lot of seniors who have gotten into amazing places like Adobe, NVIDIA, or even if we're talking about higher studies, we have people who've got into Pratt and Parsons. So obviously I'm looking in that scope itself, because my parents have invested so much in me. So obviously I owe that to them. So I'm not going to ever have a glass ceiling for myself. But again, like I'd always have to have this open mindset about things, and one day maybe even if I'm confident enough, start my own firm. So that is where I'm headed right now.
Okay, so when you talk about the international universities, so there is always a confusion with the aspirants.
Yes.
So some of them might be interested to join foreign universities. So do you have any kind of insight on that, the best universities that they can refer to?
Okay, foreign universities for bachelors in design.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of factors that are involved here, including things like your scope, how many months you have to prepare, and your budget, and how many years, because different universities have different time frames, especially for a discipline like design. But if you want to get into some place like Milan and all, so it's free education in Europe, most of the countries. So that's one reason why even I was very attracted to the idea of studying in Milan or even Berlin. If you know German or if you're ready to pick up German, then there's a lot of amazing, even the original Bauhaus school, they do have a lot of courses where they teach for free. So that is again a great option if you're really interested in that, and if you're like on a budget, because let's be honest here. But again, if you have the kind of backup from like financial backup and all of that, then you can always apply for really prestigious universities in the UK or USA and all of that, like California College of Arts or RISD. There's Pratt's, there's Parsons, there's New York School of Arts. And even if you're going into the fashion industry, there's a lot of scope, and there's a lot of schools out there in this design discipline that rank 1 to 10, where you can apply. But then again, there's a depending on the country, the application process is different, their demands are different. Some of them might want you to have those English exams written, some of them like IELTS and all, but if you're from the Cambridge syllabus, you don't really need that. Some of them might expect you to have a portfolio, some of them might expect you to give interviews. And going abroad into a university is not like a small process, it's like a good 11 to 13 month process, where so the best thing to do is maybe work with a few people who are part of taking students abroad, and then go with the rules and all of that.
Any names you can suggest?
I wouldn't really suggest any names, but if you do search the web, there are a lot of people who would help you out. I don't know, I wouldn't suggest, I'm not the right person. But if you want to talk about the best schools for design,
so we have talked about the industry, the curriculum at NID. So I would like to know, so what you have to give a final note to the viewers who were the aspirants of industrial designing or the NID?
A final note.
Huh.
Okay, that is quite abstract. But I would just say that I wouldn't give a note to like an aspirants of NID or industrial design, but like design as a discipline of the whole, as a whole, because I know that there's a lot of weightage around aspirants around NID, but that's not how things really work. As long as you have you have the thirst to learn about design and learn more about this field, and as long as you're interested in investing a lot of hours into whatever you're interested in design, I guess nothing should really stop you. Entrance or not, there's a lot of ways in which you can enter the industry, and NID is just one of them. NID is a really good way too, because it's not just about, NID is not just about design, it's about a beautiful cultural exchange, it's a life experience on its own, because it's what makes you an NIDian is not just the fact that you can tell one pixel apart on a screen, but also the fact that you're a different person. It's an entire personality development journey, those 4 years that you take as a person. But that is just one aspect of things, but to design as a discipline as a whole, there are multiple approaches that you can take to learn this and to master this subject. And you can go into a lot of niches. You can be a specialist or a hyper specialist in something that's really intriguing, or you can be a generalist. And what keeps you afloat in this discipline is that constant openness and willingness to learn new things. So never stop doing that. Yeah, I guess that's it from me.
Okay Nandini, so thank you so much So it's nice to have you here in this interaction. So thank you.
Yeah, it was a really nice session and I really had fun talking about design, and sorry if I geeked out about it, but yeah.
Okay, so thank you. I'll see you again.